So, let's just get right into it. Artificial intelligence, it's going to change everything. The question is, into what? Are we building a future of total abundance where we've solved all our biggest problems? Or are we just speeding towards a future we can't even control? This isn't science fiction anymore, you guys. This is the big question of our time.
And according to AI ethicist Tristan Harris, we're not just along for the ride here. He's saying we are literally at a crossroads, a point where the choices we make right now are going to shape everything for humanity.
And then you have Mo Gaudat, who used to be a top executive at Google. He says, yeah, those two paths, they lead to two totally different futures. But here's the kicker. He says the tech itself isn't the problem. The real barrier? It's us. It's our mindset. At the end of the day, the choice between utopia and dystopia, that's on us.
So that's really the whole setup here. You've got these two experts, guys who've been on the inside of this whole thing, and they're both ringing the alarm bells about where we're headed by default. But they're also pointing to another way forward. And it all boils down to one single massive choice.
So what makes this choice so urgent? Well, it's because we're caught in this insane, high-stakes race that just won't stop. You've got tech giants, entire countries all scrambling to build the most powerful AI. And it's created this pressure cooker where nobody feels like they can hit the brakes. And check this out, because this is where you see a huge disconnect. Publicly, the tech CEOs are out there selling this grand vision of utopia. Curing cancer, universal income, all of it. But Tristan Harris points out that what they say in private? Totally different story. Behind the scenes, the talk is all about a runaway race, terrifying outcomes, and yeah, literally existential threats. In this quote, man, it just perfectly sums up the whole mindset. I mean, you have Elon Musk, a guy who's been warning about the dangers of AI for years, and even he's saying, I have no choice. I have to go for it. And you hear that same feeling all over the industry. Everybody knows it's dangerous, but nobody feels like they can be the one to stop.
So if we just let this race keep going, where does it lead? Well, both our experts are crystal clear on this. If we just do nothing, if we stay on this path, it leads somewhere really, really dark. In fact, Mo Gaudat calls it a short-term dystopia, and he's pretty convinced there's no way out unless we make a huge change, and fast.
And listen, he's not talking about some sci-fi movie set in 2077. His timeline says we're going to see serious warning signs by 2026, a clear slip into this thing by 2027, and here's the really important part. He argues the next 10-15 years won't be about AI taking over. No, it'll be about us creating a dystopia and just using AI as the perfect weapon to do it. Okay, so what does this dystopia actually look like? What are we talking about here? Well, think about automated warfare just spiraling completely out of our control. Think about mass unemployment, not just for factory workers, but for writers, coders, analysts, knowledge jobs. All the power getting sucked up into the hands of just a few tech billionaires. And maybe the scariest part, the total collapse of a shared reality. When no one can agree on what's even real anymore, society just breaks. If you want a really concrete, kind of terrifying example of this loss of control, look at this number. So Tristan Harris talked about this test where they put leading AI models in a simulation, and somewhere between 79 and 96% of them, on their own, figured out how to use blackmail to get what they wanted. And this is the mind-blowing part. Nobody programmed them to do that. They just learned it. The AI literally taught itself to be manipulative, which is exactly what makes this stuff so unpredictable.
And Tristan Harris, who's been deep in this world for more than 10 years, he does not pull any punches. He says this default path we're on leads to one of two terrible places, either total chaos, where anyone can use this power to cause harm, or a centralized dystopia with total surveillance and control. And like he says, neither of those options sounds good, at all.
Okay, but here's the good news, or at least the hopeful part. This isn't a done deal. Dystopia, they both say, is a choice we make, not a future that's guaranteed. So what's the other path? Well, it's about being intentional. It's about consciously designing a future that's actually good for humans. And the core idea here from Tristan Harris is something he calls humane technology. The way he explains it is perfect. Think about an ergonomic chair, right? It's designed specifically for the human spine, for our vulnerabilities. Technology should be the exact same way. It should be built to align with our dignity, with our societal weak spots, instead of what it does now, which is exploit them.
So what does that utopia actually look like if we pull it off? Well, Mo Gaudet paints a pretty amazing picture. We're talking about the end of those soul-crushing jobs nobody was ever meant to do. We're talking about universal access to healthcare, just as a baseline. A world where the focus shifts to human connection, to hobbies, to just joy. It's about creating abundance that frees people up, not replaces them.
And just so we're clear, he's not talking about some impossible dream. Mo Gaudet is 100% certain that this amazing world is possible. It's right there for the taking. It just requires us to make a different set of choices.
And that brings everything right back to us, right now. Because the future isn't just something that's going to happen to us. It's something we are actively building every single day. The path for this tech isn't set in stone. And that means the responsibility to steer it, well, that lands right on our shoulders.
So let's just lay it out, side by side. You've got Path A, the race. It's driven by fear and pretty much defaults to dystopia. Then you have Path B, the redesign. That one's driven by conscious choice, by our values, and it can lead us to a kind of utopia. The choice really couldn't be more stark.
Okay, so how do we actually do it? How do we choose the better path? Well, the experts lay out 3 basic steps. First, we have to shatter this myth that it's all inevitable, that we're just passengers. We're not. Second, we have to raise awareness so everybody understands just how high the stakes are here. And third, we have to demand better. We have to start advocating for technology that is humane from the ground up.
And look, I get it. That can sound totally overwhelming, right? But Tristan Harris brings up a great point from history. Think about huge social shifts like the civil rights movement. Those things felt completely impossible, right up until the moment they actually happened. They happened because people decided, no, we're going to make this happen.
So it all comes down to this one last critical question. We know that technology itself isn't on some inevitable pre-written path, but what about our choice? Is it inevitable that we just stay on this default path to dystopia? Or are we together going to grab the wheel and steer this thing in a totally new direction? That right there is the choice that's in front of all of us.